faith and fear, or you could say belief and fear if you like. It's amazing how when you say the word faith, everyone thinks, well, most people think of religion, or they're turned off by it because they think you're going to talk about some religious aspect. Faith is a belief. It's a powerful belief in something beyond yourself. And actually, a belief is something beyond yourself also, because a belief that is not manifested in what we call reality is something that you can't see, something you can't touch. It may be a belief in just an idea, a belief in something you want to come to pass. And now your belief or your faith in whatever you desire will be evidenced by your action taken towards making that belief a realization. What's the old saying? Faith without works is dead. Well, a belief without works is dead too, without action. I'm a firm believer in the power of your mind and of your thought to bring into your life, or to direct you to walking into the life that you desire. I know some people believe that we create our reality. Some people believe that we step into the various dimensions or the various options. Either way, your belief is going to determine what you experience in life, or your faith. Now, the opposite side of that is fear. If there is a devil, it should be called doubt and fear, because it destroys more people, dreams, societies than anything else. Let's take a look at the last 3 years, what fear did, how fear was used to motivate people to do things that maybe they normally wouldn't do. Fear is a powerful force, but then again, faith is also. I practiced faith or belief during that time. I did not participate in the fear. Now, did I feel fear during this last 3 years of uncertainty? Of course, I felt the fear, but I didn't feed the fear. I fed my faith or my belief by looking at the data, the statistics, the numbers, not listening to the rhetoric or the dramatizations of the local news media or the national news media or world news media. So I'm just using that as an example to show you that you can practice faith or fear, because fear is a magnet. It will draw to you what you're afraid of, because when you're afraid of something, your mind starts imagining all these scenarios of how it's going to come to pass, how it's going to happen, how terrible you're going to feel, etc., ad infinitum. And it grows like a snowball rolling downhill. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And faith is the same way. Think about this. How many times have you sat there and said something like, what if I lose my job? What if I screw up the interview? What if that girl doesn't like me? What if I approach her and she tells me to get out of her face, or she ignores me? What if I can't think of anything to say? That's a negative form of faith. That's operating in a fear mode. Why not change that around and say, what if I walk up and meet this girl and she just loves me? What if I nail the interview? What if I get the job and they actually give me more money than what I asked for? What if I drive down to the city and I meet some really incredible people instead of thinking about getting robbed? What if I take this trip and I have the most wonderful time of my life? You have a choice to view whatever you desire in your future the way you want it to happen or the way you're afraid it's going to happen. And each of these makes an impression on your subconscious mind and will draw into your life similar experiences. Maybe not exact, because you usually have a mixture of both. You're usually not thinking of everything that you fear. You're thinking of some of the things you fear and some of the things you desire, the good things that you want to happen. So that's why your experiences are colored with a little bit of good and a little bit of bad. If you could keep your mind at least 51% on what you desire instead of what you're afraid of, it would make a miraculous difference in your life. Everything emanates from your thoughts and the visions you have within yourself. What are you visualizing? What are you thinking? And now this gets even more intricate than just this. What are you thinking about other people? What are you judging? Now, when I talk about judging, I'm not talking about judging that a person, let's say you see a person steal and you don't like that and you believe that's wrong. I don't believe it's good either. Now, you can judge that the act of stealing is wrong, but you don't have to judge the person and say he's bad or criticize him in your mind, because you have no idea what this man has gone through. You haven't walked a mile in his shoes. So don't criticize and be despicable towards someone like that or think they're a despicable person, because you don't know what his life is like. We have to judge. For example, if you're an employer and you're going to hire someone, you need to judge whether this person will be a good fit for your company. And if you're an employee and you're trying to find a job, you need to decide and judge whether this company will be a good fit for you. Now, there's nothing wrong with that type of judgment. But let's say you're doing the interview and you don't like the person interviewing you. That's okay. But if you start criticizing this person, judging them, and just attacking their character, even if you don't say anything to anybody else, but if you do this within your mind, it affects you. It affects everything that's going to happen to you that day and in the future. A critical attitude and a critical spirit, a critical personality will never draw abundance into your life. Now, I've suffered from that myself. I grew up and my mother was very, I feel like I'm bad-mouthing my mother. I learned to be very critical, I think, from my mother. Maybe I learned it on my own. And I would catch myself criticizing everything that I see. I would criticize my own work because it wasn't perfect. So what I have to do, and I still have to do this, is when I see something and my first thought is criticism, I have to look for the good. And I voice that, not verbally out loud. Sometimes I do it, out loud, but usually I do it within my mind. I find something good about that person. And I think about that, because this affects me. It doesn't affect them. Maybe if I said it out loud to them, it would affect them, but it affects me. So I need to look for the good, the wonderful, the beautiful in everything. And when you focus on that, then that brings more of that into your life. As you guys have heard me say, and gals, women, whatever you focus on grows in your experience. Are you focusing on, I'm focusing on this fly here. It's that time of year here. Whatever you focus on grows. What are you focusing on? Am I focused on this fly? Oh, what are you focusing on? Think about that. Think about what you're thinking about. So many people don't give attention to what's going on here in your kingdom. You are the king of that kingdom. And you have control over what goes on in here. And if you don't, you need to learn how to control that. One of the ways and methods I use is when I catch myself thinking badly about someone or something, and I don't care, it could be the government or anything. I know a lot of people criticize this side and that side of the political arena. And you may be right. Whether you're right or wrong does not matter. But if you're criticizing the people and judging the people, and there's a lot of things that I don't like about politics also, regardless of whatever side you're on, we each have our views. But it hurts you and me when I criticize other people, regardless of who they are and what they've done. Now, I'm not saying you can't criticize the action or have a judgment or an opinion on the action of what they've done, but don't criticize the individual, because it's the same as criticizing yourself. That may not make any sense to you, and I don't understand that, but I know that that is detrimental to your success. Think about what you want, focus on what you want, try to ignore what you don't want. If you don't want a lot of crime in your life, if you don't want crises in your life, don't be reading books, watching news, short reels and different things about these things. One of the things I would catch my kids doing was watching these fails on these short clips where maybe someone was riding a skateboard and they hit something and fell down and broke their arm or really got hurt. Or maybe they didn't get hurt, but it was funny how they crashed. And I told them, I said, you don't want to be watching a lot of those things because that makes an impression on your subconscious mind and can bring things like that into your life. Now, it may not be the exact thing that you're watching, but if you're watching people get hurt all the time and you have an emotional reaction, whether it's laughter or, oh man, things like that, eventually you're going to bring something like that into your life. But most people never connect the two things. They never put two and two together because they don't understand the correlation between your thinking, your emotional reactions to whatever you're watching, whatever you're thinking about, whatever you're viewing, whatever you're visualizing, to the actual occurrence in what we call reality. I read this somewhere once that if you think of the reality or the real thing as your thoughts, and that's not very good. Let me try to say this a different way. If we judge or say that I'm really having a hard time with this. We believe that what we see in the manifest world is real, like a car, a house, a truck. And we don't think the vision of that within ourselves is real. We don't really think of that as reality. But let's say we reverse that and say what is real is the vision within your mind, the thought. And what is manifest in the outer world is an illusion, is transitory. And if you think about that, everything out here, this device I'm making this video on, my car, my house, even my family and my friends, all will pass away. What I see as the material, we are material, will pass away. But the thought or the vision of all these things will never pass away. So when you desire something in your life and you have the vision within you, the thought within you, consider that to be real, that you already have it, because you do. Just because you don't see it or you can't feel it or touch it in the manifest world, in the outer reality, don't assume that you don't have it, because you do have it. And the only thing that'll keep it from manifesting in your world, in what we call reality, is the same thing that caused it to start to be created in that manifest world, which is your thought and your visions. When you let go of that, if you hold the vision of how you want your life to be long enough, eventually your life will demonstrate, or that reality or that desire will manifest in what we call reality. But remember, the reality is within you. Jesus said, act as if you already have it. Believe that you already have what you've asked for, and you will receive it. Believe that you already have it. When you ask for something, believe that you already have it. Well, how do you do that? By believing that the thought and the vision is the reality. You do already have it. Just because you can't touch it or see it in this world, you can see it in your inner world, in your kingdom, where you are the king of all. If that makes sense to you. That's one way you can already decide or feel or believe that you already have it. Everything that you want, you already have. You just have to look at it or perceive it differently than what you've been perceiving, that we've been taught to perceive all our lives. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? Which came first, the thought or what we call manifest reality? I would say the thought, the vision came first. Everything that you see in your outer world, created by man, was the reality first to hear within the mind of man. It's so simple, but yet people seem to forget it. These things come about. They start off from the seed of a thought and a vision. And you have that same ability as anyone that's ever been born on this planet to be anything that you want, that you desire to be. But you have to believe that it's possible. And when you believe, you will receive. I'm not talking about a superficial, I believe today, tomorrow I don't. Well, maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't. Even when everything looks like it's going to hell, even when everything looks like it's not even going to come to pass what you desire, you take your mind off of the evidence of your senses, which is your sight, your hearing, taste, touch, feel, those things, and believe in the inner vision, the thought within you. And eventually, in time, just like it takes a seed time to sprout, this will come into your life. It will grow. Where does an oak tree start out? From a small seed. And that seed is the idea of the large, giant oak tree, which can withstand storms and heat and cold, all these things that come against it. But yet the seed, the idea is within that seed. And your seed is your thought and your vision. And it will grow the same as that oak tree. And the only thing that can stop it from growing is you, the very same thing that started it growing. Okay, I'm going to stop there. Thanks for joining me today. If you think this will be of help to someone, share it with them. Hit that like button and subscribe, and I will talk to you next time. Thank you for listening.